Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Wibta cut my unborn child's father out of his life. Long story short, boy 30 meets girl 29. They fall in love, boy promises her the world. She gets pregnant and suddenly it's only her responsibility to raise the baby. So at the moment I'm half through my pregnancy. He never came to any ultrasounds. Never asks how the baby is doing. Refuses to pay for anything. Doesn't take the parental leave because it means that he has to tell work that he got his ex-girlfriend pregnant. I told him a few weeks ago that he could go and live life like nothing happened, but I will ask for alimony because he needs to take responsibility some way and that he could never ever come back. He decided that he somewhat wants to be in her life, but doesn't want to make concrete decisions. But now I had my last ultrasound and saw her little fingers and feet and feel like he doesn't deserve to meet her or be in her life. I paid everything for her. I'm the only one worried about health scares. I was already struggling with different things during pregnancy and he only made it harder, and the worst thing is him hiding the baby for everyone in his life like my child is some dirty thing to be ashamed about. Basically he is saying I won't do anything for this baby, but I'm just going to visit a few times to see if I like the vibe. WBTI to tell him that he will never meet her. Now for the top comments. NTA, were I in your shoes I would explain very bluntly to him that he will not be allowed to be a revolving door daddy always coming and going in her life. Children need consistency and stability, and a daddy one day but not the next would be terrible. I would give him the chance. Because babies. But don't be disappointed if he ghosts again. I just wouldn't let him do that more than once without a huge legal fight. The legal system, in the US anyway, allows this. Inconsistent parents still have a right to see their child. I would pick a time he says he doesn't want any contact. Have him sign the custody arrangement for mom to have kid 100% and that's it. She can go after child support when baby is born and paternity is established. And make sure you keep a calendar where you write down exactly, if any, how much time he spends with the baby. Once he's paying child support, he may start to demand time because the more time he spends, the less he pays. So you will need to prove to the court exactly how much time he does in fact see the baby. They tend to stick to existing visitation schedules, so keep track of everything. NTA, get a legal custody agreement in place. And it's child support, not alimony. Edit. Apparently alimony refers to both spousal and child support in the Netherlands. Agree. He doesn't get to be wishy-washy when it comes to a child. You're in or out. Don't let him be the deadbeat dad who ditches every couple years because he decides he wants to be a dad for a few months. Paperwork now. If down the road it's not needed, cross that bridge when you come to it. Am I the antagonist for going into the ladies' room? I'm a 31-year man and was at a large store yesterday with my 5mo son when he did what babies do. I went over to the restrooms and saw that there wasn't a family companion restroom, just a men's and women's. I went into the men's room and saw there was a cubicle and a few urinals, but no changing table. The sink didn't have a counter either. I walked out and hunted down an employee to ask where the changing table was. She said it was in the bathroom, and I asked where, assuming there was a family companion restroom on the other side of the store. She took me back to where I just was. I asked if there was another bathroom, and she said no. I told her I was just in the bathroom and there was no changing table. She asked if I was sure and suggested I look again. I was annoyed, but I went back in the men's room. No changing table. When I came out the employee was gone. Keep in mind, my son has been in his poopy diaper this whole time. So I give up and head into the ladies' room, which sure enough had a changing table. There was a woman in there washing her hands, and she said wrong bathroom. Buddy. I gestured to my son and said no changing table in the men's room. She laughed and said bro, that sucks. Then she walked out. So I rushed to change him, hoping to be done before anyone else walked in. I'm almost done when a woman walks in and starts screaming at me. I tried to explain what I was doing, but she kept screaming, get out. You can't be here. Then she ran out. I finished putting the diaper on and rushed out of the bathroom. I saw the woman talking to an employee and decided to leave without my stuff. The employee tried to wave me down and stop me, but I rushed out to my car, buckled my son into his car seat and left. My wife said I absolutely did the right thing, but my mom said I'm an idiot and was 100% in the wrong. My sister won't stop laughing at me and is no help at all. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA guy I went to high school with went on a one-man campaign to get changing tables installed in men's rooms for circumstances just as this. Take up the mantle. He's a hero. My husband was a stay-at-home dad. Men's bathrooms near us always have changing tables. We were unprepared when we visited my parents in the south. I was really confused when I came back for buying lunch to see my husband changing our son on the floor in the Atlanta airport. NTA that store is 100% to blame for this. I wouldn't be shocked if they've received complaints about this in the past and haven't done anything about it. Your mom was way out of line. You needed to change your kid. What did she expect you to do? Change him on the floor? Drive home with him in a dirty diaper? Your wife is right. You did the right thing, and that lady was rude. Who does that? Screams at a father for changing his kid's dirty diaper. Yeah, did the right thing. As a woman, I wouldn't even have given him a second look. He was at the changing table with a baby. What do you think he was doing? This isn't the first time I've heard that a lot of stores do not have changing tables in the men's restrooms. I always assumed that they were in both. I was so wrong. The McDonald's I used to work at didn't originally have a changing table in the men's room. They did eventually get one when they remodeled. Had guys come to me a few times before for this same reason, and what I did was make sure the ladies' room was empty, let the dude in, and wait outside till he finished so I could let any women know the situation. The employee should have done that or something like it, rather than insisting you were wrong and ditching you. The baby comes first, so definitely not the a-hole. Am I the antagonist for not telling my husband my son's secret / why he was crying? Throwaway for privacy reasons. Also fake names. I, 39F, am married to my husband Will, 41 male, and we have 2 kids together, 14 male and 10F. I'm going to call my son Alex in this post. Yesterday my son was crying. Will and I realized it and were obviously concerned. We couldn't get him to tell us why. Will ended up having to go pick up our daughter, but I stayed to comfort Alex. After Will left, Alex ended up confiding in me about what was going on. There is a reason he told me, and not his dad. I would like to clarify that he does have an excellent relationship with his dad. They are very close. It's just that he has no experience with this particular thing, and I do. I'm able to relate him in a way Will can't. We talked about it, and by the end he was feeling a lot better. He asked me not tell anyone yet because he's not ready to talk about it. I intend to keep his secret for as long as he wants me to. When Will got back home from getting our daughter, I'll let him know that I talked to Alex and that he is okay, because I know he was worried and I didn't want him to keep asking what's wrong. Will immediately asked me what happened. I told him nothing happened. Alex is just dealing with something right now. He asked me what, and I told him I couldn't tell him. He asked why, and I said I promised Alex I wouldn't. Now I can completely understand him wanting to know. I would want to know too. We kept going back and forth. I told him all he needs to know is that nothing is wrong. Alex is perfectly fine and healthy both mentally and physically. I also assured him Alex will tell him eventually, he just needs some time first. Right now Will is really frustrated with me. He wants to know, and he's frustrated that I won't tell him what's going on. He's also frustrated that Alex felt like he couldn't confide in him. I keep assuring him that it's nothing personal and that Alex still loves him. But I can't tell him why Alex chose to tell me instead, because that would basically be telling him what is going on. I sympathize with his frustrations. I imagine I would feel the same way, but I don't think I'm doing anything wrong by protecting our son's secret. Am I the antagonist? Edit. I did encourage Alex to tell his dad, and I think he will relatively soon. However, I won't force him to tell him. Also, while what's going on doesn't mean Alex is in harm, it's still a very serious and important issue. I didn't mean to downplay it. Now for the top comments. NTA, your child came to you and entrusted you with something valuable. When he is ready, he can decide when he wants to share this with his dad. If you end up revealing it to your husband without his permission, your son will lose one of the only adults in his life he initially trusted and doubt your reliability. NTA, that trust your son has in you now, that is something to be treasured, and it will last a lifetime. If properly taken care of, curiosity can't be allowed to put even the smallest of cracks in that. NTA, your son is 14 and therefore old enough to decide if he wants to share the reason with his father. If there is no immediate threat or anything really severe, it's totally fine not to tell your husband. Am I the antagonist for telling my sister that she chose the life that she has and she shouldn't complain about it? To start this off, I'm going to give you some context as to what she did and why I don't pity her. I, 28F, have a sister, Caitlin, who is 1 year older than me. Growing up, we were dirt poor. Our family nailed almost every single southern hillbilly stereotype on the head. We both did decently, but neither of us had ever considered college. Caitlin graduated high school first and got a full-time job immediately. She began to help with bills, but at some point began thinking about maybe going to school. I was having the same thoughts a year later when I graduated. Well, what we hadn't known was that when our great-grandma died, she left my dad all that she had, which came up to a sum of a couple $1,000 that they decided to save for us. And because Kate began talking about maybe going to school, Mom began to save her bill money to add to the sum of the money. Unfortunately, it still wasn't a lot. So our parents sat us down and explained that they had money for only one of us to go to school and that they would have to think about who to give it to. I was prepared to fight for this chance because I realized this was my chance to better myself. I was ready to do whatever it took, but I didn't end up needing to because Kate gave up. I guess Caitlin realized she wouldn't be picked because I had better grades and was more well liked, because Mom told me later that day that she had backed down and said to give it to me. So fast forward, I got my BSN and work as a travel nurse. I do very well for myself and live 2 hours away from my hometown. I went to visit my sister because she's pregnant with my nephew and I missed her and brought some gifts. We had lunch and were just chatting about what we were up to when she began to complain and whine that she was tired and asked if I didn't mind if she vented. Before I could answer, she started talking about how she was tired all of the time from her shifts at work and then having to come home to her kids and her husband. It sounded a lot like she was regretting her life, and after about 20 minutes, it was starting to get on my nerves. She would not stop or change topic. Finally, I lost it and told her that I wasn't here to listen to her complain and that she really shouldn't complain about the life she chose. I told Caitlin that if she didn't have to get married or have a low-paying job, and if she had wanted to better herself, she should have fought harder to go to college instead of giving up before she even tried. It ended in her crying, which I felt horrible about, and then she went home without saying anything else. I tried apologizing for how I phrased it, but not for anything I actually said, because it was true, but she won't accept it. Our parents have been giving me the cold shoulder and I feel lost because they won't listen to my side of why I said what I said. Am I the antagonist here? Now for the top comments. She literally backed down so you could go to college. Not just that, she partially paid for ops college too. I guess Caitlin realized she wouldn't be picked because I had better grades and was more well liked, or maybe she just loved her little sister and wanted you to have a real chance. But hey, congratulations on doing well in high school and being popular. Exactly my thoughts. I guess Op is so self-centered that she can't even realize that her sister gave up for her to have a better future. Just curious, does Op ever asked her why she did that? Or ever said that you for giving her this opportunity? Definitely you're the a-hole. OMG. Just reading your post. The tone you use. Everything about it makes me rage. Before she gave up, you were ready to fight her tooth and nail. She knew you had a better chance of making it and stepped aside. She didn't do anything. You go to lunch with her and she has to ask if it's okay to talk to you like a sister would. Then you get tired of listening to her for 20 minutes. Seriously, I'm trying so hard not to use foul language. You then proceed to tear into her. She wanted to confide in you, not get a lecture. You know why you are where you are today. Because you have an older sister that was willing to put her dreams away for you to have an opportunity. Sure, you worked hard to get where you are, but Caitlyn cleared the path for you. You owe her a huge apology for acting like an absolute jerk to her. Am I the antagonist for saying it's not my fault I'm the favorite child? I, 18F, have a lots of first cousins. I'm the 3 oldest out of all of them, and I've lived next door to my grandparents pretty much all my life. Because of this I spend a lot of time with them. I visit them basically every day, help them with electronic devices, groceries, doctor's appointments, etc. I know I'm their favorite grandchild, especially my grandpa's. He's always giving me money. Most of the money goes to my pet. BC, he agreed to help me with the expenses when I got him, buying me things and brings me snacks every day when he's home from work. So anyway, last week my uncle's wife Jenna came to their house with her 2 kids, 5 each, male, 10 each, male, to spend the weekend. My uncle travels a lot BC of his work, so she often drops her kids off to my grandma for 2 or 3 days at a time. My grandma doesn't mind. She likes all of her grandkids and my grandpa is indifferent. The problem started when the younger kids started to ask my grandpa for money. He started to say, like, I want $10 now, and to put his hands inside grandpa's pockets. Apparently the kids does this with everyone. He did it with grandma and my mom too. My grandpa told him that was very rude and refused to give him money. He also told Jenna to educate her kids better because that was just a rude thing to do and he could see some problem arising if he did that with a complete stranger on the street. At that point, the older kid started to say how come they only get $5 each every time they visited when he gave me $20 a week. Jenna backed him up saying how harmful was for him to play favorites and told me I was an adult who shouldn't be living at the expense of him while her sons were still kids. My grandpa pretty much lost it and yelled it was his damn money and he would spend it however the fuck he wants and that if she or her kids wanted more money she could call her husband. He also said he let the kids stay almost every week for free. As for my answer, I told her it wasn't my fault he gifted me nice things and liked me more and that he could spend his money however he sees fit. The moment her son stormed out of the house and later that night my grandpa got into a fight with my uncle. They've been giving him the cold shoulder ever since and most of my family thinks my comment was way out of line and that I shouldn't have meddled, but Jenna dragged me into the argument when I had nothing to do with it. Was I supposed to let her insult me? Edit. Apparently it wasn't clear, but Jenna did refer to me. She said, and I quote, "And you're an adult living at the expense of him, while my sons are still kids." Yes, she was talking to me, looking at me, and she said this after she told my grandpa the other comment. That's when I butted in. Now for the top comments. NTA. Jenna shouldn't comment on you while you're there if she doesn't want you to respond. Also, Jenna does not seem like a very good parent. It's like the kids just go there for the money and their parents don't care in the slightest. NTA. It's completely fair to prefer the company of people that actually care about you. The fact they're gauging his love on a cash metric is disgusting and hardly your fault. You pointed out the flaw in the slander and that makes you the R because you're young. If I'm eating paint chips, it's a fair play to tell me it's my fault there are bare spots on the wall. It's not fair to whine that I'm getting extra snacks when I'm obviously not. Also, like, Op mentioned spending lots of time with grandparents and helping with errands and appointments. In my family, I'm the grandkid most able to help with all that. And my grandparents have more than once hidden money in my handbag after I've helped with stuff. Because people generally want to repay support, I think it's fairly natural that Op's grandparents do favor someone who spends time with them, enjoys their company, and regularly helps them with things. Am I the antagonist for leaving home because my mom is pregnant again? First, English is not my first language, so if I wrote something wrong just ignore it, okay? For context, me, 18F, always did the chores in my house. My mom is kinda obsessed with cleaning, so we were always cleaning up. I never complained because I understood that helping is important and she could never do those things alone. The biggest problem was my stepbrother and stepfather. They never cleaned anything, never cooked or washed something, and their excuse was, women do house chores way better than man. And my mother always agreed with that, and even fought with me for not cleaning things for them sometimes. Anyways, this never changed. Since I was 10 I cooked and cleaned for everyone without complaining. When I was 13, my mom had a baby, and suddenly I was a maid and a babysitter. And again, I didn't complain about the situation. But as a teenager I wanted to go out with my friends. And when I got older I really wanted to have a job. But since I had to take care of my baby brother while my parents were working or were busy with other things. The thing is, my stepbrother and stepfather never take care of the baby, and sometimes I needed to cancel plans to stay with him because I was his second mother. I even started studying at night because I needed to stay with him during the day. So I was cleaning, cooking, babysitting and trying to study. And when I did all the chores that my mother asked me, she would fight with me and calling me words like useless, lazy. I never complained about anything, just accepted and kept living. Everything changed last month. We were having lunch with my family and my boyfriend was with us. My mother said she had a big thing to tell us all. She was pregnant again. At that moment I felt like crying and screaming. But I respected their moment of happiness. My boyfriend noticed that I was not happy like them. Don't get me wrong. I was not jealous of attention or anything. I was sad because I knew I would be stuck at home and now taking care of 2 kids, a toddler and a newborn. And I didn't choose to be this. I don't even want to be a mom. I don't want this to become my life. I became the mom of my brother and now I would be the mother of this new kid. At night, after all this, me and my boyfriend talked and he said that I could live with him and his family until I got a job and me and him could pay for somewhere else to live. I agreed. When I told my mother about this, she shouted at me, calling me unfair and selfish. She needed me to take care of her kids for her and do the chores. So I said I was not a maid and I was not the mother of her children. After the fight, I took all my stuff and started living in my boyfriend's house. My family and I haven't talked since this. I think I'm kinda right at a certain point. But I really need some other people's opinion. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. Not at all the asshole. I'm assuming it's probably a cultural thing to expect female children to act as second mothers, but that is not okay. Moving out is 100% the best thing you could do right now. Your mother and stepfather should stop having babies they can't care for. NTA. The mom and stepdad are really shitty parents. I'm so glad Op has a way out. Hopefully the BF is good long term. Sometimes people who grow up being taken advantage of like Op attract people who like to take advantage. But so far he seems great. Mom, you're useless. I need you so much you can't leave. You're selfish but my needs should be your only priority. Definitely not the a-hole 10,000%. You are your own person and should pursue what makes you happy, not what makes them happy, especially when it sounds like they have never been appreciative of how much you did for them. I hope you have an amazing life, and I wish you all the luck in love, health, and fortune. NTA. What she did is called parentification, and it is a form of abuse. It is good that you saw the light and got out when you did. It seems like it beyond parentification. Mother seems to think her daughter is not only the second mother, but also maid. Op used to that treatment much longer and much better than I would have. I'm glad you were able to free yourself from this horrible situation. I realize this is probably your culture, but I believe you're in America now. Go back to school and live your best life and become your best self. You are not the a-hole.